You're watching Community Access TV2, your community television channel.
The program you're about to see is one in a series designed to assist the community in getting important information about mental health issues. It's sponsored by Community for Hope, an Oshkosh suicide education organization founded in 2001. This volunteer-based group was established in response to a number of teen suicides in the Fox Valley. Since 2001, Community for Hope now focuses on mental health issues facing all age groups. For more information on this program or on Community for Hope, please visit www.communityforhope.org.
Hello and welcome to our program. My name is Jerry Burke. Every year in Wisconsin, on average, there are 700 people who die by suicide. And if you do some quick math with 72 counties in Wisconsin, that's about 10 per county per year. And chances are very high you know someone who died by suicide. And we as parents are always have in the back of our mind, could it happen to our son? Could it happen to our daughter? With us today is a man who lost his son to death by suicide 2 years ago. His name is Eric Garland. Eric is from McFarland, Wisconsin, and Eric has quite a story to tell us. Eric, first of all, welcome to our program, and thank you for agreeing to talk to us. I know it's got to be difficult to do. I don't know if I could do it.
Thank you.
The first thing, obviously, Eric, people would say, did you see this coming?
That's probably the most difficult question you'll ask. Yes and then no. You always think it happens to someone else. There was an attempt that we thought dealt with. Things appeared to be getting better. Out of the blue, he died. Not when it was expected, no.
Brandon was just about 18 years old when he died by suicide.
He was just short of 19.
19. When you said he had multiple attempts at this before he was successful?
He had attempted it once. He had scared people probably 2 other times without attempting it, but he had threatened it. When he did die by suicide, there was no warning, there was no threat, there was nothing. Brandon just disappeared from anyone and everyone and just wouldn't answer his phone. He didn't reach out to anyone at the time. He didn't call for help. He didn't allow anyone to try to help him. He just did things like he did his life. He had made up his mind, I believe. He disappeared and he took his own life.
When this happened, Eric, did it happen like that, or was there a buildup over a several months period, and did he get any help between when you first spotted something and when it actually happened?
Well, the process went on for probably a year's time in his life. He received help in the beginning. Because he was a legal adult, he didn't have to accept the help. He chose to stop accepting help as far as counseling, medications. He decided he didn't need that, that he could deal with this stuff on his own way. He actually left our home and went and moved in with a friend of his, attempted to create a new life for himself, a far different life from what he had. And one day he just disappeared from there. The last time anybody heard from him was on Valentine's Day of 2006. He actually died February 15th of 2006. But because of the way he did it, he drove out into a woods all by himself. He was in the woods for 3 days before he was found.
Prior to that, was he getting any type of counseling? You said he was on medication, correct? Mm-hmm. Did those medications help, or did they seem to?
They helped for a bit. In the initial process, when Brandon made his first attempt at suicide, that was when we first sought out counseling, psychiatrist, medications, anything you could do, because he was hurting. It was a new experience to us dealing with mental health. We knew nothing about it. So we were trying to soak up and learn as much as we could. Brandon accepted the counseling, he accepted the medication, but he hated the fact that he had to take medication and the fact that he had to see a doctor. In his mind, he was defective and broken. He did not like it. There's a stigma that goes with mental illness or depression or seeing a psychiatrist or seeing a counselor. He did not like that stigma at all. And he was embarrassed by the fact. And he did the things that he needed to do, and it worked for a period of time. The medication stopped working. There was alcohol involved, lack of sleep involved, but at that point the medication stopped working and he had another episode. He didn't attempt suicide, but he threatened it, sought additional help. He actually went to the hospital for a couple, 3 days, and things moved on from there and started to get a little better. But because of the episode, he never quite bounced back to who he was, and he discontinued that medication, he discontinued counseling, he stopped those things.
When you said he had a mental illness and you and Trudy, your wife, were trying to soak up as much as you could, was there any hint of mental illness before this, or do you know what caused this?
Yeah, there was no hint of mental illness before, and to be quite honest, we knew nothing of mental illness. What caused it, how can you say what caused it? It's an illness, but there were some factors that led up to Brandon's illness. He suffered 2 concussions that gave him his brain frontal lobe damage. What that did is it affected his ability to focus and concentrate. So he used to be a straight A student, and it was very easy for him. It became much harder work to struggle through to get a D. I mean, he would read something, he couldn't remember what he read. You could send him to the store with money and a coupon to get something. He'd come back with the change and the coupon. He'd forget to turn the coupon in. Simple things like losing keys all the time and just very, very forgetful.
Did you, when he was on the medication and getting counseling, Eric, and you said he started to use alcohol, did anybody tell him about the dangers of mixing the two?
Yes. He heard it from us. He heard it from his doctors.
Did he pay attention to it?
No. At times he would, but for the most part, no. He didn't want to believe that, and it's in his mind, you know, it's his life. This is part of being 18. If I want to have 3 beers with my friends on Saturday night, it's not going to hurt me.
Was he drinking a lot of alcohol?
Well, after his death, we found out that it was much more than we ever thought, on a much more regular basis than we ever thought.
You said that he was also having signs of depression. Was that part of what they thought was a result of the concussions?
Yes. According to Brandon's doctor, it all kind of intertwined together. Brandon basically lost his identity of who he was. He was a gifted student and a gifted athlete. After the concussions, he was no longer a gifted student and he couldn't participate in the sports that he loved. So because of that, you lose your same circle of friends, you lose your same activities, you find different things to do with different people. College, which was a clear picture for him, now became more muddied because he was struggling with school. He actually flunked some classes. He became angry, he became confrontational. He would actually seek out confrontations at school. And I've described it as you could see it as a freight train with no brakes, but you didn't know how to stop it.
Did you talked about the stigma that he thought he was going through. What about his friends? Did they abandon him? Did they embrace him? Did they try to help him? Or did they, what was their reaction?
He was continued to be accepted like he always was. Brandon was a leader, but as he got worse and worse with the anger issues, people started to bail on him then.
Were you left at first to be the really bad people that Brandon was telling people, like, for example, my parents are like Nazis, or what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We were. Many things were blamed on us. When he left our home, he told everyone that we kicked him out. He told people it was so hard to live there, he had to be home at 7 o'clock at night and things like that. They weren't true, but he would say things like that. And to be honest, he was very, very believable.
Did that start to change at all? Did his friends was there a day when his friends said, wait a minute, his mom and dad can't be that bad because we're seeing some of these things too?
Yes. I mean, it wasn't like an instantaneous change. His friends knew us. His friends knew what we were like. But again, Brandon was very believable. I think sometimes they wondered what goes on behind closed doors that we don't know. Because Brandon was very good at covering his depression, covering how much he hurt. He was very good at covering that up. And I truly think that when he was with his friends, I don't want to say he wasn't depressed, but he was very good at having a good time. And I think it was more the alone time, the downtime is when it affected him the most.
Did you get to a point, excuse me, Rick, pardon me again, did you get to a point where you said our son is going down the track and he's going to die? Or was there denial?
Was there denial? I don't think there was denial. Although as a father, I don't think I really ever thought he was going to die by suicide. There was a point in the September, October before he died that we were quite concerned. We were concerned enough that we got the courts and his doctors involved, and we had him picked up against his will and brought to a hospital.
Was suicide something that you had looked at and said, maybe?
I still don't know that I believed it. You always wondered if maybe, but I really don't think I ever thought he would truly die by suicide. I can't speak for my wife, but I don't ever think I thought that he would die by suicide. And the time that when he did die, it was not expected at that time. He was, actually things were picking up for him. He was working, he was in much better spirits, he was coming back to visit us.
So you were saying there were peaks and valleys?
There were peaks and valleys.
Okay. Was there a point where you went, okay, we're on the way home, everything's going to be hunky-dory, and then you slide back down again, or what?
Well, at Christmas time, Brandon did not come home for Thanksgiving. He had already left our home. He did not come home for Thanksgiving. Devastating for my wife. Christmas, he came home. He stayed home at Christmas Eve, and he was there again Christmas Day. We had a great time. Everyone got along fantastic. Other family came. Really thought things were good. I had gotten a cabinet, and he helped me build a cabinet. Things went great.
But all of a sudden, after Christmas, you started to go down a valley again?
Yes. We had a couple counseling sessions after Christmas. He came to those. I had heard about mid-January, someone said that Brandon had taken cocaine on New Year's Eve. Brandon hated drugs. He was an athlete. He hated drugs his whole life. I asked him about that. He became very defensive, said he didn't do it. I actually believed he didn't do it. The truth is he died with cocaine in his system.
Okay. If you think you would like or need some help, we encourage you to dial 911 if you are contemplating suicide, or if you know of anyone who may be contemplating suicide, please call 911. And regarding suicide, we're going to show you some numbers that will get you some help before it's too late. And when we come back, Eric is going to talk about what he and Trudy went through after that awful day on February 15th, 2006.